Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming tonight. I'm going to talk for about 20 minutes to 30 minutes, and then I'm going to turn off the recording and we'll just take questions then. So, tonight, my goal is to cover all age groups and just kind of a general introduction into positive, gentle discipline and discipline that builds smarts, which is the same thing pretty well. Okay, away we go here. Just there. So, my name is Judy Arnall, and I have spent the last 27 years promoting the concept of non-punitive parenting. Um, so my work life is I teach about non-punitive parenting practices, non-punitive education practices, and I think it's all rooted in understanding how the brain grows, develops, and functions for children. I'm certified in the 0 to 3, the growing brain from birth to 5, and I'm also certified in the brain story. So a lot of how children act and behave depends on development. When we look at behavior issues, we look at the development of the child according to age. We also look at temperament and we also look at the environment and what's going on there. And usually we can find answers in there. So this is my group. I raised 5 kids and I stopped pretty well giving all punishments when my oldest son was age 8. Why did I do that? I began noticing that our communication was being impacted. Now, I didn't do any spanking, but I did do timeouts. I did do consequences because that's what all the parenting books said to do. But they don't really tell you how children react back or push back to when you punish them. And my kids, like all kids, pushed back. And I noticed they stopped talking to me, they stopped coming to me when they had issues. And that's not the kind of relationship I wanted to grow with them heading into the teen years. So I decided then and there to give up all punishments. And moving forward, I was going to try every non parenting trick in the book of getting cooperative behavior, teaching them proper behavior, but also not punishing them. I treated them like I would treat my partner, my mother, my brother, my aunt, my neighbor, my friend, with the same respect I would afford an adult. So that's where we are today. Today, there are 5 wonderful adults. All were accepted into university, and they're caring, nice people who are responsible, and and I even have a grandchild. So after I've raised these kids, I decided I'm going to write some books. Actually, I wrote Discipline Without Distress during my progress of doing the non-punitive parenting thing. And in that time, I was teaching parent ed, and I got lots of facilitating tips from the parents I did parenting groups with. So in the groups, we promoted non-punitive parenting, and I got hundreds and hundreds of tips on how to handle everything without timeouts, consequences, spanking. So that was good. So this is a book. It's very popular. It's sold over 80,000 copies worldwide. And this is the Bible. This is explains a lot of the theory behind non-punitive parenting and why you want to do it. So when that came out, then people would say, well, I can do non-punitive discipline, but I got to be in the mood. What do I do about my anger first? So I wrote another book to talk about dealing with parental anger and also children's anger. So that's a big part of this. And I'll explain it a bit more. Um, so it all probably, let's start with this situation. I write about this in my Parenting with Patience. So My son, he was a sweetie. He was 4 years old. He wants chips, and we're about 10 minutes away from dinner. So I said, no, no chips before dinner. You know the rules. Well, he didn't like that. So he took this Costco size bag of chips up to his room, opened it, spread the chips all over the carpet, and proceeded to grind the chips into smithereens with his foot because he was very angry. Now, this is a good example of what drives parents crazy. We're okay when kids don't know better, right? But when they do know better and they deliberately defy us is when we tend to bring out the big guns of spanking, timeouts, consequences. Well, I have to say, I was downstairs when I heard this bang, bang, bang from upstairs in his room. And I went up to see what was going on. And as you can imagine, I was livid with anger. I was so angry. And not being a spanking parent, I was pretty close to it then. So it's one of my better parenting moments, which is why I'm telling you about it now. Um, so I was just shaking with anger, and I delivered my very best I message. I said, I am so angry right now. I can't deal with this. I am going downstairs and I'll be back in 10 minutes. And I went downstairs. I went in the bathroom and dealt with my anger. I screamed in the toilet, flushed the toilet, and then I called my friend and proceeded to have a good cry. So that was good. I eventually did calm down. And yeah, but you know what? Kids need to see how you handle your anger because that is what you're modeling. So I modeled taking a time out for me and I modeled my I message. I'll talk about this example later as we're moving on. But a lot of people ask, what is positive discipline? And it's teaching. It's not ignoring. It's not addressing bad behavior. It is addressing bad behavior, but with always a focus to teach. Teach, teach, teach. Teach without physical punishment like spanking, hitting, slapping, all those things, and emotional punishment, which is timeouts, jail time timeouts, it's consequences, it's shaming, it is things like that. So that's what it is. Why do you want to do it? You want to do it because you need communication with these kids in this new digital world where so much of what happens below your radar, you need good communication between parent and child. And the whole point of parenting is shaping the brain, shaping their brains, providing structure, providing nurturing until kids can take on self-discipline themselves. Now, there are certain ages they can do this at. For example, kids can't really have self-control till about age 6. 7. That's why they don't go to school until age 6 or 7. But we are their self-control for them until they can take it on themselves. And this is from the brain story. So this is the development of that self-control, which is located in the prefrontal cortex. So you can see from age 0 to 3, you're pretty well just doing damage control there. You can teach, but don't expect they're going to get it. If they understand about 40% of what you do and they comply about 40% of the time, you're doing fantastic when they're under the age of 5 years old. Right there. So what you're doing is you are pretty well just keeping them safe and keeping your stuff safe until about age 3. Even so, getting into age 4 here, there's still not a lot of self-control, but there's a big leap in 5. So these yellow bars are a big leap in executive function, self-control, self-discipline. So from age 3 to age 6, when they start school, and again from age 13 to age 25, with that peak going up about age 17. And you will see that that is normative development for all kids. Okay. They all get self-discipline, they all get self-control naturally through their development, and of course, through your teaching. It's good to know that there is no research out there that shows any long-term benefits in punishing children. There is none. Zippo. Zero. But there is plenty of research that shows that punishment has some negative effects. It interferes with learning. It often makes kids' behavior worse than better, contrary to what, common myth is. And it teaches kids how to punish others. You notice in families when there is heavy punishment that the kids tend to take it out on their siblings. There's a lot of sibling fighting and it's nasty. It borders on bullying. It causes stress to the child. It teaches kids to hide mistakes rather than come and say, I need help with this, and to tap into your brain power. And it puts fear into that parent-child relationship. What's wrong with a little fear in that parent-child relationship? Plenty. When kids fear their parents, they don't come to them. They don't open up about their feelings, about their problems, about their issues, about their joys and their heartaches. And that's what you want, is communication. So just to recap, there is no research out there that shows that punishments contribute positively to the parent-child relationship. So why do parents keep doing it? A lot of parents just don't know what else to do. And a lot of parents do what we had done to us when we were kids. We use our parents as models and think, we turned out okay. But did we? I mean, how could we have been? Could we have had better relationships with our parents? Do we want better relationships with our kids? The other thing is, when I talk about stress, punishment does cause stress to kids. And oftentimes that's toxic stress. And it's toxic because parents are supposed to be the buffer against stress, not the cause of it. And toxic stress is the bad kind of stress. It's not positive, it's not tolerable. It is bad stress that can damage childhood brain architecture. That's why if you want to raise a smart kid, you don't want to use punishments. What it does is when a child thinks, oh no, a punishment is coming, their body releases cortisol and adrenaline, and that disconnects the limbic system and the prefrontal cortex. And that's the connections that help grow brains. So another reason not to use punishments, because it can cause toxic stress. Parents are the buffers against toxic stress, not the cause of it. So, is there differences between discipline, which means to teach, it's from the Spanish word to teach, and punishment, which means to hurt? Absolutely. Discipline tends to connect the relationship, punishment disconnects it. Discipline focuses on long-term learning, punishment focuses on stop the behavior now. Discipline promotes good feelings, understanding, it's respectful, and it's proactive. It looks at problems before they happen. Punishment tends to promote short-term learning. Just don't get caught. It promotes feelings of anger, hurt, resentment, revenge, and passive aggressiveness. We wonder why teen years are so dreaded. It's because teens can fight back. And in relationships that are non-punitive, teen years are the best years ever because those are the enjoyable years where teens communicate, you have fun together. Sure, you have issues, but you deal with them and teach them how to manage them in an adult way. It's one of the best stages of parenting. Oftentimes, kids feel misunderstood, disrespectful, and they react back. Now, the parenting books never talk about reacting back, but it happens. A lot of parents ask, what's the difference between consequences and problem solving? So, consequences tend to be punishment. Problem solving is not punishment. Problem solving is the way the rest of the world solves problems with people they respect and care about. So I said before that I wasn't going to do anything to my kids that I wouldn't do to any other adult. Because really, you're parenting kids, you're parenting teenagers when they're still toddlers. So consequences tend to be one solution, and it's usually parent imposed. It's designed to hurt in order to teach, and it's a punishment. Whereas problem solving is many solutions. Parents and the children come up with the ideas, and it solves the issue, and it teaches a real life skill that kids can always use. There's many benefits of giving up punishments, and I talked about that already, but these are some of them. I'm not going to go through them, but I think the one we haven't talked about was the child has more responsibility and fate control. They have better social and life skills because they're practiced in communication, problem solving, and conflict resolution. So let's go on to how do you do this? Okay, there's 3 steps. Okay, they're outlined in the book Parenting with Patience. First one starts with you, okay? Getting yourself calm. That has to begin with you. And we recommend timeout for you. And as in that chip model, okay, that's coming. Anyways, timeout is for us to get calm. The second thing is get the child calm, and that's time in. And the third thing is solve the problem, which is time to gather. Okay, so step 1, you time out. Okay, so here in the chip episode, I was modeling self-control. Okay, one of us needs to be in control when one of us is freaking out. And usually kids aren't very well practiced in self-control. Oftentimes when parents punish, they're out of control. They're angry, they're frustrated, they're tired, and that's what they're clinging to. So if they take a timeout, take a break, and there's many ways to take a break. Just make sure kids are safe. Maybe they're in their crib. Take a timeout and calm down. And you can make much better parenting decisions when you're calm. You can say to yourself, stop, breathe. What do I need? Right? And it's very important to put yourself first. You need to do some self-care. Put your rock in the jar before you put everybody else and all the sand of life into the jar. Take your time out first, okay? And timeout is a positive life skill. We want to model it. We want to be the person you want them to be. And if they learn that parents around them take timeouts to handle their frustration and anger, that's the best way to teach timeout to them. They're going to do it too. The other thing you can do is learn the I statement language. I feel angry when I've told you no chips before dinner and you go upstairs and eat the chips because it ruins your appetite and you won't eat dinner. So a lot of times kids need to know why we say no to a certain thing, what our reasoning is. And this is good practice for when they're teenagers. Start when they're toddlers with I statements. Okay, step 2 is your child. So get your child calm, and that is time in. So again, everybody doesn't make good decisions when we're angry, right? Kids need help to calm down. They're out of control. They're tantruming, they're flailing, they're screaming, they're crying, they're kicking, they're all just out of control. They need help to calm down. Or sometimes they just need to be allowed the space and time to freak out. They have big feelings, they have big meltdowns. They will calm down eventually. Let's give them time and space to do it. Make sure they're safe, make sure there's nothing they can throw that could hurt things, and let them calm down. Sometimes they may need your presence to calm down. Maybe you're just sitting there. Oftentimes, when my kids were tantruming in the store, I'd carry them out to the car, put them in their car seat, sit in the front seat, and read a book. And that's what I do. I just wait out the storm. Okay. So 0 to 5, you could redirect them to a self-calming tool. Let's say they're freaking out. You could pick them up, give them the pillow and say, kick the pillow. They might do it, they might not. Doesn't matter, whatever. We all have our different ways to calm down. Ages 6 to 20, a lot of times they just storm off and want to be left alone for a while. So give them space and connect before you direct. So give them the space to calm down, but don't leave them hanging. Go up there within about 20 minutes and say, hey, what's going on there? And talk it out. A lot of other tools for younger kids, maybe give them a beanbag chair to kick or an anger pillow. Maybe make an anger tube for them to breathe in. Teach them to hammer their hands or stomp or drum, or, maybe they just need a hug. Maybe signal for a hug. Okay. If they're biting, maybe give them a teething ring to bite. They're frustrated, they're anger, and lots of younger kids need to expand energy when they're angry. They need to physically get rid of it. Whereas as they get older, age 6 and up, they tend to talk about their anger. So calming tools for older children are validating their feelings, saying, I can see why you were really angry that you couldn't have those chips. Giving them space, reconnecting later. And you know what? When they're not angry, ask them how they want you to respond. Go to them and say, when you're really upset, do you want to be left alone? Do you want a hug? Do you want some time to think before I come and see what's going on for you? Ask them, connect with them, and then direct. So let them clean up if they're, angry and they throw something. Let them clean up the mess. And don't forget, hugs always start the reconnection. Listen to their feelings and name their feelings, which is what we call active listening. You can never, never, never active listen too much. So when the other person's hurting, feeling those big feelings, acknowledging them and saying, wow, it seems to me like you're pretty upset right now. It's okay to feel upset. Do you want me to stay with you? Do you want to be alone? And step 3, that is when everybody's calm and now you solve the problem. This is where the teaching takes place. This is where the restitution takes place. Okay. Now, I list about 135 tools in discipline without distress, but we're not going to talk about those now. So back to our chip example. Obviously, we have a problem. We have a mess. And we have some other things to discuss. So the 4-year-old is calm, and I'm now calm. And now it's his turn to clean up the mess. Now, a 4-year-old doesn't do a very good job cleaning up the mess by himself, but hey, we insist on it, and he does the best he can. And it's the certainty of cleanup, not the perfection of it that matters. He knows he has to clean up his messes, and he may think twice about it next time. So that's one problem solved. The next thing we have to do is decide how he can deal with his anger instead of pouring chips all over the rug. So we agree that next time he's going to go to his pillow and pound his pillow when he's angry. He might remember, he might not, but I am going to redirect him there. And the last thing we need to solve is, next time when he's hungry before dinner, and wants the chips. What are we going to do? We have a problem and we're going to solve it because we're going to keep having those problems. So I am going to give him some snacks. We're going to talk about what snacks he might like before dinner that won't ruin his appetite. And we're going to solve the problem proactively before the next time this happens. So there you go. This is way more productive than giving him a quick spanking and being off, right? So the thing about this is it's all about teaching. He's got an idea of how to handle his anger. He's learned how adults deal with their anger, and we've learned the process of problem solving. These are skills he's going to need when he's an adult and he's dealing with problems with his future partner, boss, coach, friends. These are adult skills that you want to put in the bank for later. If you're going to spend time, don't spend time enforcing punishments, spend the time teaching. So I said at the beginning, when we're looking at behavior, we kind of look at, is it the temperament, is it development, or is it the environment? So is it because kids are high need or not high need? So kids develop physically, cognitively, social, and emotional in different, all across the world, all kids develop in the same sequence, but at different times. Okay. So some kids develop self-control faster, some later. The environment. What's happening in the environment that is causing our child to behave that way? Do we need to add something, subtract something, change something, simplify it? Looking at that, because oftentimes it's easier to change the environment than nag another person to change. Okay, so what we're going to do is just recap. These are tools you can use for kids 3 and under that have little self-control. Number 1, supervision. If your child has markers and tends to paint on the wall, okay, don't give him the markers unless you're there to supervise. Child-proofing and prevention. So if your child runs out in the road, and doesn't look for cars, and most kids do until about age 6, make sure that you're there to supervise and make sure they can't get out in the front door unsupervised. Routines are great. Distraction, redirection is good. Validating feelings, using your I statements, modeling, giving them attention, and when all else fails, there's still little enough you can move them. They don't want to leave a play date, you can still pick them up, put them in the car, and get them home. 4 and over. Now they're gaining self-control, they're gaining better words. So that with that, you use all these same discipline techniques and add more. You offer choices, you problem solve, you make it a game, you discuss, you use natural consequences, and sometimes you just accept that that's the way it's going to be and it's a stage they're going to grow out of. Remember I said most kids by age 17 to 25 are fantastic at running their own life. They really are. And they will get there. They will get their self-control, their self-discipline, and become really good citizens. Teenagers, school-age children and teens. By the time my kids were in teens and school age, one of our best discipline techniques was go for a walk and talk. So, or go for a coffee. So I would say an I statement. I'm really getting tired of nagging you to do your chores. When I do that and still nothing happens, let's go for a walk and talk about this. Okay. And then on the walk and talk, I give them my I statement again, and then I listen to their side, and then I active listen to their side, and then we come up with some problem solving ideas. When we get home, we put those on paper and we try and implement them. Okay. So best tools for school age children and teens is discussions and problem solving. And the best discipline tool ever happens to be a hug because it's good modeling. It starts from a place of compassion and love, and the teaching sinks in after everyone's calm. It just conveys unconditional love. It doesn't mean you're rewarding the bad behavior. It means that you're going to start problem solving it. Okay, and I think you got to remember, kids, their kids have different behavior issues for different ages, right? At 1 year old, they're just these adorable little cutie, beginning toddlers, but they don't have any idea of safety. They don't have any idea of your feelings or your needs, and that's developmentally appropriate. Age 3, pretty well the same thing. They still don't have much idea of what your needs are. They are very egocentric. It's all about them. They're learning to handle those big emotions, but not very well. And they have no idea of safety. But by age 7, then they stop putting things in their mouths. They get an idea of what's poison or not. Still can't judge traffic very well, but they're starting to understand logical things, not abstract thinking yet, but logical. And they're starting to understand rules and other people's needs. By this age, they get it that there's a whole world out there that's not about them, it's about others. And when it suits them, they're wonderful at helping others. At age 13, really starting to get there's another world that's not about them or their family. They're dipping their toes into politics and understanding a lot of issues and becoming very interesting to converse with. It's a lovely age. And by 18, again, they're really, really, really nice to talk to. They're nice to go and do friend stuff with. They become your best friends by that age. Actually, they become your best friends sooner. I would say about age 9 is that sweet spot. Halfway to adulthood, they really become good friends if you don't use punishments. Nowadays, we travel with our kids. They're in their 20s and 30s, and they still like hanging out with their parents, which is kind of nice. So remember, get yourself calm first. Timeouts for you. Get your child calm next. Time in is for them. Solve the problem. So that's time together, figuring out what to do in the future. Very, very simple. And it's important to remember there's always two people in the relationship. It's not what parents do to kids. Kids can do back at parents. It's how both of you are going to interact with each other. And as kids age, parents lose control. But one thing you will never lose is your influence. In connected relationships, your influence is what you think, what you believe, what you value, what you worry about. And that's still echoing in your children's ears when you are not there. That's what's keeping them safe. And when you control your kids with punishments, you don't build that influence, and you're going to lose control of them as they age. But if you have a non-punitive relationship, you will continue your influence and building of it. Okay, I'm going to end there and we'll take questions. I have several books here, and if you want any of those books, I'm cleaning out my garage. I'd be happy to ship them to you free. Well, not free. Shipping is about $20 these days through Canada Post and through the US. So if you want to e-transfer me $20 to journal@shaw.ca, no password needed, I would be happy to pop a book signed in the mail for you. And here's how to keep in touch. So I want to thank you for coming, and I am going to turn off our recording and take your questions. So here we go. Thank you for sharing your evening with me. So everybody have a good night and stay tuned for our next webinar. And we're always open to more topics. Okay, bye-bye.